Okay, guys, today I want to talk about 3 skills that I believe are completely underrated as it relates to contracting. When people get into contracting, they don't think of selling, closing, negotiating. They don't think of legal. They don't think of accounting. They think of the physical practice of doing and performing construction activities. And most contractors come from the field. And if they've been spending years in the field, they haven't been spending years selling, closing, and negotiating. And that's a very big weak link in many contractors. So today I want to get into selling, closing, and negotiation for contractors. First of all, no sales, no business. Sales is the backbone of everything. I'm a contractor through and through, second generation contractor. I'm the biggest construction and contractor advocate that's out there. $2.5 billion of construction, racked it up in a very short period of time. However, I consider myself a salesman. When I'm negotiating contracts, I'm a salesman. When I'm selling and making my presentation, I'm a salesman. When I'm closing, I'm a salesman. Sales is my superpower. My ability to communicate, both verbal and written, is what has helped me get $2.5 billion of construction done, manage massive risk, and do the biggest claims the city of New York has ever seen. First off, I want to tell you guys there is a difference between selling, closing, and negotiating. And that is what the sales process is. It's 3 pieces. It's making initial contact, setting up a meeting, and going through the sales process. That's building rapport, gathering intelligence, asking questions, advocating for yourself, for your solution, making your presentation, answering questions. That's the selling process. Then there's the closing process. Now, I look at this different than most people. You got to remember something, guys. If you look at all the books, all the sales books that are out there, they're all written by car salesmen. And everybody's reading the same books. So everybody sounds exactly the same. And so if you're the 5th guy calling someone today or reaching out to someone today, you're going to sound like everybody who called before you. You're not going to stand out. I mean, put your contrarian hat on a little bit. You need to stand out. You want to be a little bit of a character. You want to be different to make a very good first impression. Otherwise, you're going to blend in with everybody else, and everybody else stinks. See, closing is what most salespeople focus on. And I think that they get it all wrong, and that's why most salespeople stink. It's very difficult to find people that are producing in the hundreds of millions and even billions of dollars of originated deals. That's a different echelon of a salesperson, and they don't sound like everybody else. See, closing, in my opinion, is a very small portion of the process. You need to know when to go from selling, transition out of selling into closing, and then transition quickly into negotiation. Because a deal isn't closed until price is agreed upon and the contract is signed. That's negotiation. That's not closing. To me, closing is, yeah, Wilkinson, I'd love to go with you guys, but your price is too high. At my perspective, that deal's closed. Meaning, he said he's going to go with me if we can get the price right. I'm no longer going to do the closes. Steve, if I put you in Union Carbide at 9 and took you out at 14, I put you in AT&T at 14 and got you out at 19, you wouldn't want to be adding time to the decision, right? This isn't 1990s Lehman Brothers. That stuff does not work. The second we start talking about price, I'm out of closing and I'm in negotiation. The second we start talking about terms, I move out of closing, I go right into negotiation. Because that's what we're doing there. Price and terms is a negotiation point. It's not a closing point. Closing is when you get all your objections. Remember, you're only going to get objections when you're asking somebody to do something. When you're asking somebody to make a commitment, that's when all these red flags and false flags and excuses and lies and all this made-up stuff comes about. You have to know how to handle those objections, definitely. But no, when the objections fly, you're in the closing phase. I want to get them to the money and the terms phase as fast as I can because I can't close a deal without negotiating. So we got to be very careful with our language. When we say, is that deal closed? We're talking about an inked contract. But there is a step in the sales process called the close, and those 2 things are not the same. In fact, it's really closer to selling, advocating for yourself, making a presentation, transitioning into a point where they make a commitment to you, and then transitioning out of that into a negotiation to ink the deal. So that you have to weave in and out of these silos, in and out of these buckets of selling. And here's a pro tip for you guys. If you guys are taking notes, write this down. Here is a pro tip. When you transition from one silo into another, you never go backwards. When you transition out of selling into closing, do not go back into selling. You're going to lower your altitude. If they ask you a question, definitely answer the question. But don't go back. Let me reintroduce myself. My name is Marshall Wilkinson. I'm the COO of Eldor Contracting. I wouldn't be where I am now if I wasn't screwing my clients and I was gouging their eyes out. Do not do that. We have to take their complaint, because that's really what it is. It's just somebody moaning about something. They're not real. Think about it. I'll prove to you why these objections in the close are not real. How many times have you got an objection and then you've tried to come up with a solution, and you just use energy and time and talking to come up with a solution, and then when you come up with a solution, what comes next? Another objection. There aren't multiple objections, man. There's one real objection, and they're not going to tell you in the beginning. If you bite on that objection, you will validate the objection. You want to accept the objection and then move on. Okay? I can't give it all away to you now. For all my guys in Power Hour, in Closer School, Contractor School, and my one-on-ones, they know exactly what to do here. You need to stay in agreement with the person, and then basically sidestep it, ask a question, build what I call a bridge to logic land, move into that world, ask a question, and move the ball forward. I'm trying as fast as I can to get them the price and terms. Because if I can get them the price and terms, then I'm in negotiation mode, and I'm not closing anymore. If price was the same, who'd you rather go with, me or them? Well, I'd love to go with you, but you guys are sky high. Great, let's talk about price. Take my pen out. Now we're negotiating. I'm gonna get that price to where it needs to be. The contractors don't know how to negotiate, unfortunately. That's why you guys need my negotiation masterclass, because it's all laid out in the masterclass. But you need to negotiate. So on small deals, I've told my people, do not negotiate, because there isn't enough meat on the bone to negotiate on small deals. But when you're doing deals in the millions, you've got to negotiate, especially if this is a private commercial project or a private residential project. It's not a public rip 'em and read 'em. You can't negotiate that. But in the private world, you can negotiate it. And people want to negotiate and feel like they got a deal. You've got to enter the negotiation phase. I think, personally, that salespeople should be better negotiators than anything else. Because everything in life comes down to negotiation. When you understand that and you are truly ready to negotiate, your numbers will go through the roof. See, these three things, selling, closing, and negotiation, are extremely weak points in contractors, because their strength is in the field. The strength is in estimating. The strength is in project management. It's not necessarily in closing the deal and contract. And that is where you guys need to pick it up. Because if you get strong in those areas, you will be unstoppable. The next question is, where are you getting your leads from? And I'll talk about that in the next video. See you on the next one.